She came home glowing, but not from work. Based on true events. Let me know where you're watching from and what you go by. Curious to know who's tuning in today. Now sit back, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Jason had always seen himself as the level-headed type. Not the jealous kind. Not suspicious. Just a grounded man who knew who he was. He and his wife, Emily, had been married for 5 years. By now, he was well acquainted with her eccentricities. She often laughed and called herself a bit strange, like it was a cute personality trait, and Jason would just smile and let her be. They didn't have kids, never had plans to. Emily had some health issues she described vaguely as women stuff, and Jason respected her privacy. Honestly, he appreciated the intimacy between them without the added pressures of parenthood. Both held jobs. She worked nights. He had the usual Monday to Friday routine. The arrangement gave them financial comfort, weekend getaways, nice dinners, spontaneous road trips, and enough independence to keep things healthy. Everything felt stable, until the night that illusion shattered. It was one of the rare evenings they both had off. Jason decided to set the mood: candles, soft lighting, a bottle of good wine, music, a home-cooked meal. He wanted the night to feel like something out of a romance film. But as Emily walked in, the energy shifted. Her eyes were distant, her smile awkward and faint. "They called me in for an overnight shift," she said quickly while already tugging on her scrubs. "I'm sorry," she added, brushing a kiss past his cheek. Jason didn't argue. He simply nodded, though unease began to creep through his gut. Her schedule rarely changed without warning. Still, trust was trust. He let her leave. That evening, he curled up on the couch, the unopened dinner beside him, glass of wine in hand, half watching some show while his mind wouldn't settle. Something just felt off. Around midnight, a loud knock echoed through the apartment. He checked the peephole. Emily. But not in scrubs. Not looking exhausted. She looked like she'd just walked out of a club. Flushed cheeks, hair a little wild, traces of someone else's perfume clinging to her skin. She was clearly tipsy, giggling, eyes sparkling with a kind of joy that didn't match a shift at work. "Hey," she chirped, kicking off her heels and wobbling slightly. He stepped aside to let her in. She began. But Jason stopped her. "Weren't you supposed to be working tonight?" She hesitated just for a second, then slipped into a story. Her shift had been cancelled last minute. She didn't want to ruin his surprise evening, so she decided to hang out with a friend instead. The explanation came too easily. Too smooth. Like it had been practiced. Jason didn't argue. He just watched. She headed for the shower. He followed, not to question her, but to toss her clothes in the wash. And that's when everything collapsed. Her lingerie bore stains that didn't come from an innocent visit with a girlfriend. He held the fabric in his hands, his pulse pounding in his ears. He tossed everything into the washing machine, then yanked back the shower curtain. Emily jumped, startled. Her eyes wide, startled, but not remorseful. "What are you doing?" she asked, voice trembling. Jason stayed calm. "I know," he said softly. "Let's talk." She sank onto the edge of the tub, eyes lowered, and began to explain. No tears. No emotion. Just a casual confession, like she was going over a shopping list. "It's been going on for a while," she admitted. "He's different. I feel something with him. Like I'm really alive." Then came the final blow. "You're great, Jason. You really are. But you're so steady. I can't live inside that forever." Each word hit like a punch to the chest. She told him she still loved him. Said she had no intention of leaving. But she wasn't about to end the affair either. She planned to keep both men in her life, as long as Jason allowed it. He didn't. He walked into their bedroom, gathered every last item she owned, carried it to the balcony, and hurled it all into the night air. Then, still barefoot and wrapped in a robe, he walked her to the door. No shouting. No begging. No drama. Just silence. He watched as she descended the staircase alone. And for the first time in a long while, freedom didn't feel warm. It felt like a sharp wind slicing through an open wound. The next day came. Then another. A week passed. The apartment had turned into a vacuum, still, hollow, echoing with absence. No clinking of mugs, no scent of freshly brewed coffee, no footsteps rushing across the floor. Jason remained in his chair, unmoving, eyes fixed on a blank spot as the silence around him absorbed the grief hanging in the air. He wasn't sure what came next. All he knew was that there was no undoing what had been done. Memories began to unravel in his mind. Nights she came home late, mood swings that came out of nowhere, odd phone calls she brushed off, a creeping emotional distance. The clues had always been right there in front of him. But he'd accepted every excuse, every half-truth, as if love required blind faith. One evening, feeling nostalgic or maybe just numb, he reached for their old photo album. There were their wedding smiles, snapshots from road trips, silly poses with Christmas lights in the background. Emily laughing, leaning close like he was the center of her universe. He slammed the album shut. The contrast between those captured moments and his current reality was too much to bear. At work, he put on a convincing mask. No one suspected anything, and he wasn't about to hand them the script to his heartbreak. When a coworker casually asked if everything was all right, Jason just offered a shrug. What was he supposed to say? Yeah, I threw my wife's belongings off the balcony like I was starring in some dramatic midday soap opera? After a month of going through the motions, he realized he had only two choices: wither away or begin again. So he started with something simple, taking walks in the evening, just to breathe. One night, a woman and a small boy approached him to ask for directions. Her name was Sarah. Divorced not long ago, with her 6-year-old son Logan by her side. They chatted, easy, unforced. There was no awkwardness, no effort. Just two people talking like they'd known each other a little longer than they had. After that, their paths kept crossing, by the grocery store, outside the park, near Logan's school. It was as if the universe was gently nudging them together. Jason didn't rush. His trust had been cracked open once, and healing it would take time. But Sarah never pushed, never questioned. She simply showed up with a quiet strength, the kind that made room for you to exist without explanation. 2 more months passed. And then, something shifted. Jason laughed one day, not to cover up sadness, not to pretend, but because something genuinely amused him. His apartment no longer felt like a mausoleum. Then one night, his phone rang, a number he didn't recognize flashing on the screen. He almost let it go. Almost. But he answered. Hello. There was a pause. And then a voice, familiar, but thinned by time and regret. Hey. It's me. Silence stretched. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I don't have anyone else. Jason's jaw tightened. The voice that once sparked warmth in his chest now carried only weight. Go on. I'm not asking for anything, she said. I messed it all up. He left me. Said I'm used up. And you were real. You were the one that mattered. She paused, then added with a shaky breath, I'm pregnant. I don't know what to do. Jason's heart raced, but it wasn't heartbreak this time. It was fury. That's not my burden, he said calmly. You made your choice. Live with it. A soft sob escaped her. I'm not asking for anything. Just forgive me if you can. He didn't shout, didn't cry. He simply ended the call. And just like that, it was over. Later that night, he stood at the window for a long while, watching the quiet outside. His thoughts were loud, but inside, he felt a strange peace. The pain had run its course. All that remained was memory. And memory, he realized, doesn't have to be a prison. He was free. A week later, Jason picked up his phone and called Sarah. Would you and Logan like to go for a walk? He asked. She said yes. And in that moment, something clicked. There was still life ahead, simple, honest, untainted by betrayal. And this time, he'd walk forward beside someone who didn't need to promise forever, but was willing to hold his hand, steadily, silently, completely.